Everyone knows the rainbow flag and everyone knows Stonewall. And I can be in the middle of nowhere in Asia or in Africa, and when conversation comes up, people's eyes light up because they know exactly what it is and what it means. Kathy talks about freedom, it's about safety.
It means a lot to me for that flag to be there and for that monument to be there. Without that rainbow flag and without LGBTQ people or gay people, we don't have a democracy.
The idea that we had to have a lawsuit to get it back is actually hopeful to me, because I don't think that we have too many things in this administration that are providing safety and hope, but I do think that the courts are fighting like hell to protect us. When I walk into the area of the Stonewall, I think about our community's history. I think about the first place that I felt like I could go to and be comfortable. As for the pride flag itself, I do pride flag 24/7. So to me, it means a whole lot. I think it represents acceptance. It represents a place where we'll be safe. When you see the rainbow flag on a restaurant, for example, my shoulders go down. I feel a little more comfortable when I see it. I had a phone call from an old partner of mine the other day, straight white guy, amazing. He said when he sees the pride flag, he sees freedom and he sees acceptance for all people. So that was interesting take, considering it's not his community and he doesn't live amongst LGBT people. So I think freedom is the perfect way to explain it.
Lately, as I've gotten older, what I've done is I've done a lot of traveling, and I've been all over the world. And everyone knows the rainbow flag and everyone knows Stonewall. And putting the two together, and I can be in the middle of nowhere in Asia or in Africa, and when conversation comes up and we talk about Stonewall and you show the rainbow flag, people's eyes light up because they know exactly what it is and what it means. Kathy talks about freedom, it's about safety. There are so many different cultures around the world that are so dangerous for so many different types of people. And for us to have this sanctuary, this is our sanctuary, this is our home, whether you were born in Manhattan like me or come from all over the world. Stonewall and the monument is a beacon for people all over the world.
The Gilbert Baker Foundation has a photo exhibit called Flag in the Map. And it's the perfect analogy for what you're talking about, Melissa. We have photographs from all around the world of people with their pride flags telling us what the flag means to them. And some of them are just heartbreaking, that when they saw that flag, they finally felt like there was hope because they live in a place with no hope. So you all should check it out. It's about 88 photos now. One big deal.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and when I was in the military in the 80s, you weren't allowed to be gay, lesbian, trans, or anything. So when I got out in 1984, I came up to New York City because my parents moved us to North Carolina for a little while. And the rainbow flag was the first thing I was looking for when I came out, because it did represent freedom. It represented safety, love, everything for me. I remember being in the village years ago, seeing that flag in the park where the monument is now, the Stonewall Monument, and we'd be in the park talking about who died last week from AIDS. We didn't have cell phones, computers, and things like that. So basically, we would just meet in the park every week to just find out who's still here, of our friends. So it was very important to us, the flag and the monument. And I'm happy it's back.
Yeah, I grew up in Florida, and I came out very young, and had supportive parents, but lived in a pretty unsupportive environment. And the rainbow flag for me just became this symbol of where I could find community. Like, I was always looking for bumper stickers or any sort of thing. And so first thing I did when I was 17 and a half is I doctored my driver's license and got a rainbow tattoo on my ankle. But, Stonewall specifically, it was a place that when I was younger, in my teens and my 20s, I could travel to and feel that community that I was lacking as a young person. And of course, that's also why we chose that's where we wanted to be married.
Yeah. We were living in Florida when we got engaged. It was a very fast turnaround time to realizing, we're engaged, we want to be married. And we started to see some of the writing on the wall that a possibility is there's just going to be further attacks on the right to marriage, one that we've won, more than 10 years ago, one that all of us were a part of. Mm-hmm. And we made the decision. We said, we need to get our marriage license in New York because it's enshrined in the Constitution there because of the work you all have done. And in making that decision, we said, if there's going to be one place where we stand and get married, it's going to be in Stonewall, because that's where, our ancestors were. That's where they've been fighting. That's where so many fights have happened since the original Stonewall riots, right at the Stonewall Monument where the park is. So when you see our photos of our wedding, it's just a photo of us sort of looking at each other with Senator Rivera, who married us. But then in the background, you see all the flags, rainbow flag, the trans flag. And that's, I think, the image that is able to provide that. In any other setting, it's just another park. But with the image of the rainbow flag, it's telling folks like, no, this is the Stonewall Park. Yeah. This is the location where folks fought so hard for all the rights we have today. And it's frankly going to be the location that continues to be the place where we come back to have those conversations and continue to fight together. That's how I really see it, from my perspective.
I don't think I could have on film what went through my mind when that happened. But I will say that I was on my way to the hospital to get my knee surgery, and I got a phone call that the flag was missing. And I just thought, another attack on us. They finally got to it. I was waiting for the day that they would get to it on some level in my head. Yeah. And on the way into surgery, I was ordering that new flag that Brad and those guys put up. I was looking for a flag.
Excuse me, hold on.
Excuse me, not yet. I need 5 more minutes. The surgeon wanted to kill me. But we got the flag, though. Yeah, exactly. That was the important thing. Yeah. And now that it's back, the idea that we had to have a lawsuit to get it back is actually hopeful to me. Because I don't think that we have too many things in this administration that are providing safety and hope, but I do think that the courts are fighting like hell to protect us. I think that that's a port in the storm that we still have. I think the lower courts in particular are trying to be very true to their mission, and winning it back shows that, with enough focus, we could salvage our democracy. That's how I felt when we won and we got it back.
I think when I saw because I got breaking news alert that happened, so it's in the midst of all the other craziness that happens every day. We all live and work in this space, and I saw it. I was like, well, here we go again, just another way to try to silence us, because it's not. At the end of the day, it's about the flag, but it's not about the flag.
It's not about
the flag.
The
flag is their way of saying, well, what are all the small ways we can continue to chip away and take away from the LGBTQ community till they crack. And what they don't realize in this administration and this regime do not realize is it's not going to be because you take away our flag. If anything, that's just going to make us come back stronger and stronger together to collectively say, like, not only are you not taking our flag, we're also fighting you on all of these other fronts and all of these other lawsuits that are in the courts right now. And to your point, it gives me hope, because I know at the end, like, we will win. We will win. Even though we have to go through all of this, even though none of this is what we should have to go through in this moment, but we're going to get on the other side of it. We're going to win, and we're going to be stronger because of it.
Well, it's worth it to note that the foundation is fighting over 60 cases around the country about all of our flags, the progress flag, the rainbow flag, all of the flags that we're using to represent our community, they're all under attack. And the foundation is trying to defend them all. We just, we had a case in, my favorite is Boise, Idaho. I think I told you all about it earlier. They didn't want the rainbow flag flying on government buildings. They didn't want it flying on the city house, et cetera. And the city council voted to change the flag of Boise, Idaho, and take their seal and put it on a rainbow flag. And now that's the official flag of Boise, Idaho, and they fly it 365 days a year. So, this is a really creative way of fighting back.
I love
Putting rainbow benches in parks instead of in
Or
crosswalks.
bike
Yeah.
racks, the bike racks in St. Pete.
Yeah. So, we were living in St. Pete, Florida, and they were erasing the rainbow streets, right? Like it's
the state
it's just
owned them,
it's
yeah.
a constant barrage. When I got the alert, I think I got the alert and my sister texted me at the same time, and all I felt was this perpetual barrage, this erasure, and for me, so much of my life is about my son and being able to take him there and to feel like, wow, I'm going to take you to this park and you're not going to see the symbols of visibility. You're going to see how they're fighting to destroy our family. And it's a painful conversation to have with a 2-year-old. Like, I don't want to do that yet. And to feel like we have to have those conversations now.
Every Friday, terrible things happen. They have a routine. Then he flies to Florida, and it won't affect the stock market. So I'm used to steeling myself what is going to be the Friday misery that is going to be thrown at us on our TVs. All of us have dedicated our lives to progressive change. We have embraced new ideas. Some of them have been really good. Some of them are a work in progress. But for this administration to go out of their way and create reactionary themes that hurt people just for the sake of hurting people, for cruelty, for meanness, knowing that it hurts us and makes us unhappy, the more unhappy we are, the more they enjoy it. Do they care? Do they even mean any of it? We don't know. None of us have access. And so this is one of many things. All of us can sit and list things that affect so many people throughout the nation. And this is part of it. And this is just to tell his people that we know the difference, who really deserves to be married, who deserves to have a family, who deserves to be protected. So it's a wink, wink to them. And the way we respond to it is really none of their concern.
As someone who's, I was stationed in Germany in the 80s, and I went to Dachau in Germany. I went to this concentration camp, and I've seen the ovens, the showers, the mass graves, the bunk beds. I walked through the barracks. In the ovens, you could still smell burnt flesh. It took me back there when I got the email that they had taken the flag down. I got an email. I said, I have to do something. I have to go down there. I have to say something, So that's what it took me back to. I said, oh, it's happening again, erasure. So I felt like, this urgency to get down there and do something. They cannot take this from us, this flag from us. And I went down there and I spoke about it. And I made the front page of the Daily News. I didn't know I was going to be on the front page of the Daily News, but I made it. So, it means a lot to me for that flag to be there and for that monument to be there. Without it, without that rainbow flag, and without LGBTQ people or gay people, we don't have a democracy. Our democracy is not there. It doesn't exist.
It is the beginning of that process.
Yeah, which started with trans people.
Correct. Exactly right.
It starts small.
That's why erasing history is a no-go, regardless of the history.
Well, and it's exactly right when you said they start small.
Yeah.
It's it's the symbols.
Yeah.
So that you gradually take away the visibility, and you almost make it look like it's petty, right? You're like, am I fighting about a flag right now? Am I fighting about a rainbow when there's so many other bigger fights we need to have?
But if you
It's
don't
like-
fight this one,
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
You
just gonna
have to
keep-
draw a line in the sand. And you also need to recognize that these symbols have more importance than the rainbow itself, right? Like its place, its community.
right?
And it's starting with the small things that if we don't fight back on the small things, we lose all the momentum.
That's exactly right. That's
I
exactly right.
was in Florida on February 9th, and I saw it on the television. And the part that was the best is hundreds and hundreds of people showed up within a couple of hours' notice to stand their ground and to claim the space as our space. And that news and information went all around the world, that when reactionary people and anti-equality people are going to fight against queer people in New York and Lower Manhattan and Greenwich Village, people are going to show up to fight and protect our ground. And I was very happy about that.
Me too.
Yep.
Me too. When I got out of surgery, I was pretty happy about the rally. I was a little loopy, but I was happy.
Well, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera were instrumental, and some of the leaders in the fight for gay rights, or now called LGBTQ rights, and by erasing trans people, they're trying to destroy the whole LGBTQ movement, because without trans people, there is no LGBTQ. So, it's like Hitler did. They start small with the trans people. They said, oh, nobody likes trans people anyway, so we'll just get rid of them.
It's bullying.
And then the next thing they went for was the flag. And that's when everybody went off.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody, it's, they try to keep us, off keel, They try to keep us angry all the time about something, and it does a lot of harm, more harm than good to us.
They came for the trans people because they wanted to pick on the small guy to bully. And they just keep on the bullying. And that, to me, it's the same thing as having the bully in the schoolyard.
Absolutely. I mean, it's to sow divisiveness, but it's also that we're watching in real time the creation of history. That, once again, just tying back to Florida, is just, I lived in a place where they just would erase, history in the books. And they were like, let's reconstruct this. And we see this happening across the nation of, in real time, taking away what our history is. And it's so intentional because it's designed around pitting one against the other and making us decide, how do we prioritize with all of the issues going on? It's like, is it the erasure of names? We know the names. Well, we know the names. But
yeah, but they have to be marked in history.
they have to be marked in history because it's so quickly
To me, that's
gone.
a no-go. It's a no-go to
Absolutely.
erase slavery. It's a no-go to erase trans history. It's a no-go to erase the fights in Stonewall. And it's just like, to me, the stuff that happened at the Stonewall, the riots and stuff, are just like the major Civil War battles, Fort Sumter and all the rest of them. It's standing up. The people said no. The people said no. It's very hard to give equality to people you don't agree with. It's very hard. But that's what the doctrine calls for. Freedom and a free country is letting everyone, your rights end where my nose begins. You don't have the right to tell me how to live my life and what choices to make in a free country, if it's truly a free country.
We refuse to go back to the days when if you were in a bar, you had to wear a few articles of men's clothing, a few articles of women's clothing, or if you had it on too much women's clothing and you were assigned male at birth, they would arrest you if you had too many feminine clothes on. And they would go in the bars like Stonewall, and they would pull the drag queens out and just lock them up for just existing. So it was horrible, and we don't want to go back to those days.
For some reason, I mean, even those of us that are older, to have someone elected president and to work so hard not to bring us together but to separate us, it's become waking up in the morning and how can I separate the American people into different groups, and so it's easy to attack and create enemies, and it makes me look stronger. The more enemies that they can create makes the president look stronger. And fighting against trans people is so easy. You know, we are spending, my involvement with trans community goes back to the 70s. You know, some of us have been working on this for 30 years, trying to figure out how can we create an umbrella that creates civil rights, that protects people, that gives trans people access to civil rights, to protection from violence, from poverty. And now of a wave of a hand for them to use basic symbols just to eliminate our identity and then to spread it around the country. There are parts of the country where trans youth have no health care. And once they do that, they will start with trans adults having no health care. And then they will move into eliminating them from civil rights protection, as we saw in the 30s, as they did with the Nuremberg laws. And it's an easy target. It is 0.75% of the population, and the way our community is treated, they treat it like it is a seething majority of people coming to steal their children, and it is beyond tragic that people fall for this. And rather than standing up and coming together, it's an attack they can relate to, and rather than be supportive, it's just another powerless group to mock and make fun of, and makes them feel better when they go to bed.
If you don't know where you came from, how do you know where you're going? Mm-hmm. That's how I feel.
That's a t-shirt, Tom.
Yeah, that's a t-shirt, yeah. You know, you have to know where you came from, and you have to also know the harm that was caused to everyone. Right. Yeah. You know, we had to fight for everything we have. These rights that we have, that we currently enjoy or whatever, they didn't just fall from the clouds or fall from the sky. I mean, they were boots on the ground, people fighting back, right. You know, fighting, you know, for medication for people with AIDS. You know, we're fighting for everything. We had to fight for trans rights. For 17 years, we had to go back and forth to Albany to fight for gender protections for trans people in New York State. And, you know, erasing history is a dangerous move. Yeah, I think.
We don't get to see this history in school right now, right? So the only access point is, you know, right. A symbol, right? Like you can go to a website, you can go to the place itself, but you're not learning it otherwise. So we need spaces where we keep monuments of our history, where we're able to tell the story, see the story, because, you know, New York City is where people travel from all over the world, right? And they're learning about American history here. And if they're not going to get access to that information otherwise, if you can just erase two names on a website, suddenly that information is gone.
That's right.
And if you take away the symbols in the space and it just becomes another park, that history is gone for everyone who doesn't know what it is.
Think of the young person trying to come out and find their way. How did you feel when you were isolated? And that's what's going to happen again if the history is erased. Those people aren't going to know that they're not unusual. They're not the only person.
Yeah, they're not going to see themselves.
We go right back to the high suicide rates and the that sort of thing.
We can't shove a square peg through a round hole, right? We're not going to change this administration. We're not going to change fascists to agreeing with us. But we do have allies in so many spaces at every level of government in all 50 states. And I think right now, for this period of time, that this is our reality. It's there is a collection of us, not at this table, but of people who are, this sucks, or this is not what I want, but what are we doing to affect change? how are we making sure those stories are showing up in the spaces that will take the stories? They just need the information, and going through and doing that work.
Inequality in New York, we have a list of state items, bills, and our legislative agenda, and part of it is LGBT curricula. And every year we go there, and it's simple, it's not threatening, it's not rageful. And what we want to do is ensure that our history is told in schools in New York. And we have pro-equality forces in charge of our legislature in Albany, and we go there every year, and we can never even get a debate, much less get it out of committee or becoming law. And we go and we fight and we educate and we explain and we say, here's what we're looking for, and nothing ever happens. And I'm more optimistic than Kathy. We are in the information revolution. You can't kill an idea. We've seen that all over the world. We saw it in Hungary, that propaganda and dictatorship only goes so far. In this day and age, the idea of freedom and personal freedom and the idea of choice will win. And whether we have people in Washington that don't agree, we have access to information all over the world. And I believe that community is created based on a bedrock of ideas that some of which were involved in creating.
Humanity wants the knowledge of where they came from. You see that.
Everywhere.
If you're allowed to study history,
Yeah.
you can see that.
Everywhere.
You see the slave on the plantation robbing a book, and they teach themselves to read because the humanity and the quest and the thirst for knowledge is inherent, right? You see the young child who wants to ask you a question. He wants to know about you. He wants to, they want to learn about, because humanity wants to know its history and where it comes from. There are a million examples of that throughout history, but to deny people that knowledge is stunting growth. And I don't believe that humanity at the end of the day is going to put up with that.
No, and it's also a symbol of hope, right? Like, this is a place where you can see that resistance is effective. And right now, people are grasping at straws at what they can do
To resist. Yeah.
to resist.
Yeah.
And this is something that was effective. It was effective.
Right, it changed.
Yeah. And
that's
at one
partially
point,
what they're afraid of, though, right?
Of course.
Not only did Stonewall happen and our lives became a little more out in the open, we achieved many wins over the years, marriage equality and other things, and they're afraid of that.
They came for me today, they're coming for you tomorrow.
And that's why. I believe that's why.
But like we've just been talking about, right? Like history shows us this has happened before.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the next step after this? To your point, like we may not be able to pre-see what is coming next, but we have history to tell us what might come next.
Right.
We've seen a national movement over these past few months as we see more and more reactionary policies. We've seen more and more people come together under all sorts of banners, and part of which is LGBTQ. But, we are all marching for equality. We are marching for liberation. We are marching the freedom to be us, whether it's going to be LGBTQ, whether it's going to be our immigrant friends, all sorts of racial and class, and they're all marching together. And this shows people that we are together. We are going to move together. We are going to make a difference as long as we stay together.
Right, because their goal is division. They're acting like it's a zero-sum game, right? That there are only so many rights to be had. And so if you get some civil rights, then some of my civil rights are somehow taken away. Like that's supposed to be the
That's what they said about same-sex marriage, that it would diminish their marriages, a logic that escapes me.
Well, but with that idea, making sure that our entire democracy understands that the fundamental goal is to take away your rights too at some point. That, they're trying to separate us, pit us against one another, have us fight over every single issue so that we are depleted and exhausted, that it makes it, yeah. That
Then they swoop in and take it all, right?
swoop in
Like
and
I
take
said
it all.
before, without LGBTQ people, there is no democracy.
No, of course not.
There is no democracy without us. And other folks outside the LGBTQ community need to know that. They need to learn about LGBTQ people and specifically trans as well. You know, that without us, there is no democracy.
Trans people have existed since
There is no.
humans existed.
Yeah.
To think that this is a new thing is just crazy. There's a million references in history to trans
Yeah.
people and LGBT people generally.
But once again, you take away history,
Correct.
access to history.
You went
then
to the end of my story.
Yeah.
I love that.
Within the next 6 months, we're going to be having elections throughout the country, and I am hopeful that the arc for justice is moving in our direction. Certainly you can hear it or read it in the papers that there might be a change in direction of us as a nation, and the leadership might be way more progressive and inclusive. And so I'm hopeful. So I'm going to do what I can to make sure that our policies locally and nationally are more inclusive and more visionary than what we have now.
I think I'll just go home. Visibility is everything.
Right.
I think visibility is everything.
I would not be out and in a marriage if I didn't have visibility
Yeah,
to show me that it was okay,
exactly.
right? Because I didn't see that in my school, right? I didn't grow up with it in my home, but I saw it in community. I saw it when I went to college, especially, leaving college and coming straight to New York City. I was like, wow, like this is what
Exactly.
love could be. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the visibility on television, in the news, at Stonewall. And I would just have a completely different reality if that erasure had been there.
When I was a little kid, I thought I was insane. I thought there was no one like me. I thought that I had no answers to all these difficult, complicated feelings. I discovered none of my little friends shared the same feelings. As I got older, my solution was substance abuse. And it wasn't until that I became sober that I was able to take a leap of faith and explore how I felt my entire life. And it's important that people know they're not alone.
When I got into the military in the 80s, my aunt told me to not let anybody know who or what I was or anything. She said, oh, no, you're not supposed to tell anybody about that. They're not supposed to know. You're supposed to keep that secret. So what I used to do, I used to carry my drags in a bag. I used to take it on the bus and everything, and then I would get dressed when I got to the village because she told me I wasn't supposed to let anybody know what I was. So I didn't dress the whole time until I got to the village.
Drag in a bag.
I brought my drag in a bag because they called us drag queens back then. So we didn't have the terminology of transgender and all this now, back then. So I would just, I would start getting dressed on the bus, and then I would hit the village and everybody'd be out there waiting for me. Oh, hi girls. Oh, everybody be screaming,
Now we see kids in elementary school who are out.
Yeah.
And for those of us of a certain age or from a certain background, the idea that you could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and be out in school and be safe is unbelievable. That's because of the work that we've done.
Yeah,
It's
right.
because of the work that Lambda Legal has done that is showing that you're allowed to come out because of that visibility.
But that visibility isn't just important for the
Right.
queer kids.
No.
It's important for our
Yeah.
families. It's important for our leaders to know that we exist and see that we exist, because it normalizes us, right? Not that I have any eagerness to be particularly normal to somebody, but it's that you see that we're everywhere.
Yeah, but
And it's not-
normalizing us is important in services. It's important in
To be included.
coverage.
Yep.
It's
Healthcare.
important
Right.
in safety. So that's the reason.
We know
That-
we're normal.
that
We know it's about
normalizing
making
to
sure
the
other
outside
people, except
community
Melissa, but we know
is
we're normal.
important.
We need to be visible on the news channels.
Yeah.
We need to be visible. We need to be the weather people on the news. We need to be that politician.
Can you see Tanya
Like-
on the news in her drag in a
Like,
bag?
we need to be visible politicians, like Melissa Sklar's here. We need to be in the highest echelons of society and representing this democracy as, not only as LGBTQ people, but as Americans.
Of course, that's exactly right. That's
Absolutely.
exactly right. It's a win, obviously.
is.
The outcome of this case is a win.
It's also a signal.
It's a signal.
It's a signal to anybody who's going to come for us. Look how fast this moved.
Yeah.
It's a signal
And
that
we're not
if-
afraid to
and we're not
fight for
afraid.
it.
Right.
You want to come for us? You want to come for a flag that you think is so small and who cares about it? No, this is a signal. We're going to move fast. We're going to move together, and we're going to be really loud about it.
And I think our community should learn from how fast it moved.
Yeah.
I mean, I am pathetically optimistic. It's I'm lucky. I have privilege, but the good news is I use the privilege to help others. And young people are getting inspired, getting involved, showing up, and are going to lead the way. I look forward to, well, certainly the three of us following them as we go take our culture to new heights. And we are at the cusp of certainly here locally of moving forward, greater visibility, greater access. Last year we were able to get $13.725 million in trans equity in New York City. It's the largest award throughout the nation, and we're going to grow upon that. And the more access to resources, the more equity we can get for trans people, trans youth. Is going to send a signal, and it's going to show other places how it can be done, that it can be done, and that we can move forward.
Well, because other states and other even suburban and rural communities, a lot of people think like, oh, well, that's New York City, and that happens over there. I'm telling states all over the country, counties, again, like school boards, they look at what you all have passed in New York City and they say, oh, well, if that's how much they're allocating there, this is how much we need to allocate here. And then
Right.
they're fighting for it.
We see parents of trans kids leaving their home and traveling elsewhere because they're in places that are deserts for care for children, and they're getting up and moving, and whether they can afford it or not, and it is so sad and tragic.
But it's
they're
inspiring as hell.
But they're trying to save the lives of their kids, and
Yeah.
who's not inspired by that?
Absolutely.
You all are parents.
Yeah.
Me, not so much. I've got a cat.
We also have cats.
We have a
just
lot.
also happen to have a
and,
child.
and a kid.
Empty nest. Empty nest.
When LGBTQ rights are under attack, we do fight back.
Yeah.
Yes.